All right, friends, time for my hot take. Before you actually think about editing or marketing or even selling your book, you have to finish your book. I know that's kind of mean, right? For those of you who are like staring at your screens and going, the words aren't there. Why can't I just make pretty graphics or talk about my characters? You mean I actually have to sit at the desk or the table or the couch or wherever and finish the book? Yes, my friends, it is a thing, and this is part of author life. You have to actually get to the end of that first draft, and then the second draft, and all of that. And then at the end, you get to do it all over again and remind yourself that I chose to do this. Well, in this fantastic interview with the amazing EJ Kitchens, she gives you her top tips for how to finish your first draft. And she also includes a great freebie with it that you can grab below in the description of this YouTube video. Now, little bit of a note. This is an interview that I pulled from my grab bag of past interviews. I have this little awesome vault of all these great interviews that I've done in the past that I'm like, you know what? I really have to share this with my new audience. So if you notice that things look a little bit different than my style or setup now, that is why. This is from a little over a year ago, but the content is fantastic. EJ gives really, really great tips, and you will not want to miss out on all of this help so you can keep finishing those drafts and getting your fantastic books out to readers who need them. And a final reminder, if you haven't already, do make sure that you hit that subscribe button so that you never miss one of my amazing upcoming episodes. I am hard at work creating some fantastic videos, including some on how to do a remake well and why remakes are so popular right now. One on how to actually do info dumping well. Yeah, I'm not talking about avoiding it, but how do you do it well, as well as more fun stuff on world building, fandoms, the best way to market your book, how to keep yourself alive and excited while marketing and writing those books, and celebrations of all the fun, awesome that is science fiction and fantasy storytelling. Now let's hop right into that interview. And here I am with the awesome EJ Kitchens, also known as Elizabeth or Lizzie or all of those other names. But officially, if you see her name on a book, it will be EJ. And thank you so much for coming on the Author Elevate YouTube channel.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I am excited to have you here. Your name has been mentioned around my author friends and clients, and they're fans of your book, which I will absolutely show here. And so I knew I had to get you on with an interview, and there will be a later review of this fun book. But as you can see, it's rather thick and full of wonderful information. So I'm still working my way through it. And for those of you out there who may not be as familiar with Elizabeth, I'm going to read her bio. EJ Kitchens loves tales of romance, adventure, and happily ever afters, and strives to write such tales herself. When she's not thinking about her stories or traveling to far off places, she's editing others' works, enjoying the beautiful outdoors, or talking about classic books and black and white movies. She's published many novels and short works, all adventure romance stories set in fantasy worlds, and has many more begging to be written. She is a member of Realm Makers and lives in Alabama. Okay, so you say you like to enjoy the beautiful outdoors. Is there any particular place you like to go with that? Any place that inspires you?
Just the woods. Alabama has a lot of really pretty woods and wildflowers. So I enjoy those. Just going for walks. Waterfalls, rivers, trees, all those things.
Wonderful, wonderful. And in terms of black and white movies, I'm going to be really mean and ask you, do you have any favorites?
Oh, goodness. There are just too many. But I do love Errol Flynn's movies. Captain Blood is just kind of classic adventure romance. His Robin Hood, the same thing. Just fun, dashing heroes and gorgeous costumes and all that.
Oh, fantastic. I love that. So would you say that kind of inspires your own stories a bit?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Great.
He's kind of an impudent character, and I like those. A bit arrogant, brash, just kind of fun.
Yeah, that kind of really classic sort of brash hero type.
Yeah. Swashbuckling, that sort of thing.
Great. Well, how long have you been writing?
About 14 years.
Okay. So is that started writing like your first published book, or, started writing as a kid?
Well, I actually did not like writing as a kid.
Oh,
Some people know from the beginning that is what they wanted to do. I was not one of those. I did not like writing. It runs in the family. My dad called it the family curse, actually. But I thought I had escaped it until I had finished grad school. I had a job. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I had a job and I was bored and had a friend who wanted to write and illustrate. So I was like, well, I'll write like a fairy tale retelling and you'll illustrate it and we'll send it off to an agent and be rejected and, have just a story to tell our grandkids. And I started writing and then all of a sudden I just fell in love. The way I think suddenly makes sense when I think of myself as a writer. So I don't think she's ever finished anything, but I have stuck with writing and it's changed my life. I love it.
Oh, that is fascinating. So what did you graduate with? What is your degree in?
Biology. I liked being outdoors. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So my mom said, well, you talked about your biology classes, major in that. So okay. I was a nerd at a small school. So I was basically good at making good grades and everything, which doesn't really help you choose a major.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And so what were you doing when you found yourself just falling in love with writing?
I worked at a university. I helped with the microbiology labs. So it's kind of it was a weird job. I grew bacteria and I taught microbiology labs.
Okay. No, that is really cool though. I have another friend of mine who did entomology research at a university. Would have to do like grad student things and labs and that stuff, and then ended up writing and was like, what do I do with this? Like, I know how to write papers and I know how to write theses things and set up that, but now I'm writing creatively. And it seemed to be a bit of a different stretch for her.
Yeah, but I think science helps you look at details, which I think it was helpful to me as a writer because I'm used to looking at details everywhere, and so you can get details to add into your stories that way. And also art classes. I learned a lot through my art classes, writing art critiques that turned out to be really helpful in writing fiction.
Oh, wow. I love that. I love that different perspective with the details. So we got a little bit of this in your bio, but for the sake of the viewing and listening audience, what kind of books or stories do you write? What are some things that people can look forward to if they pick up one of your books?
Well, I write adventure romance stories set in fantasy worlds and steampunk settings as well. So there's fun adventure, sweet romance, banter, humor. They're a bit quirky. So that's just kind of little quirky, humorous adventure stories with romance.
So can you give an example of quirky?
Well, I wrote a book about a Beauty and the Beast retelling where Beast wants to keep his curse and Bella has to talk him out of it. So there's some just kind of strange twists like that. One of my critique partners, she said one of her favorite lines in one of my steampunk stories was something about a charismatically gnarled tree is essential to any graveyard as dead persons, or something like that. That's not exactly how it went, but it was just kind of a little bit on the strange side. But I grew up next to a cemetery, so I think they're beautiful places. But she was doing some spy work in a cemetery. But, sorry, I can't remember the quote, but it's just
that's a
strange
great element, though. I lived for 3 years in a house across from a cemetery, and it was beautiful. So I go on walks there regularly if I want to clear my head. And they have an interesting kind of aesthetic to them.
They do.
It's fantastic. So now you have these books, and you also offer author services. How did you get started into that area? What inspired you to work in author services as well as just write the books?
Well, I enjoyed being in a critique group for a long time. And then, of course, all authors know that editing is something that a lot of authors do to make extra money. And I've always been kind of like, do I want to try to go full-time writing-ish? So writing and editing. And so I decided to go for a copy editing certificate. And I have that, got that in 2017. And then I actually started doing some client work in 2020. And I just enjoy it. It's fun just being able to catch typos and help people polish up their sentences and those sorts of things. It's fun and a good way to make extra money.
So would you say what you bring to editing is more of an analytical side of looking for those details, the same way that you sort of look in details for your other work that you did?
A bit, for sure. If there's some kind of logical inconsistency, I do like to point those things out. It's just kind of like a strange kind of treasure hunt to me. It's just like making sure the details fit, making sure things are logical, as well as like making the sentences sound good. I enjoy that too. And, moving the commas around where they're supposed to be, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what would you say is your particular specialty area in working with authors? Do you work with a particular kind of author? Do you offer a particular kind of service, particular angle?
I normally do line edits and light copy edits. Since I write fantasy, I try to edit in that genre as well. But I do some other stuff. Since I have that science background, I've done science communication editing. I've done a devotional. I have a contemporary Christian fiction author that I really enjoy working with, even though I don't typically read contemporary books. I do enjoy editing for her. And I would like to do some more critiquing and developmental editing as well. I'm sort of working toward that because I do like to go through scene by scene and make sure like all the bits and pieces are right, give that bigger feedback. And I also, if there's something that's bothering me, like from a reader perspective, I'll try to even if it's hard, I will try to let the author know, because my critique partner for a long time, she's kind of my wise mentor. She will do that for me. She will tell me some pretty hard things. In one of my novels, Rod of Serpent and Snow, there was a secondary character who was becoming pretty important. And by this time in the story, I had kind of fallen in love with him. But she told me she didn't like him. And it hurt a little bit. But I asked her, like why don't you like him? And so we talked about it. And she gave me some good reasons for not liking him. He was a pretty difficult character. I just liked him anyway.
Yeah.
But she gave me some tweaks. And I tweaked him, and he created some great conflict in the story, but he became this like brooding hero that my fans really liked. And I actually wrote a book 2.5 just for him. And one lady told me she really connected with his character. Another lady told me Brecken helped her understand her husband's struggles in the past, which was something I was not expecting. So thanks to Susan's comments, I got this great character that another book, and a character that influenced some people. So hard feedback can be hard, but it can be really useful. And I would like to be able to do that same thing for other people.
No, I love that. And I love how you bring your perspective to it with that, because it's clear that you're still coming at it with compassion, even though it's hard feedback. You're not there to go, wahaha, I'm going to shred and destroy your story. Wahaha, I hate all of these characters kind of thing. Like you're doing the hard feedback because you want people to do well, because you want to be that person who catches it before the readers read it, or those kind of things.
Yeah.
And
I love still see the good in the story. And it's like, I think like this could help. I realize that not everybody, I may not understand exactly the audience. They may not be exactly who I think they are, and they may not need to take my advice, but at least they're hearing it from somebody and may help them figure out who their audience is, or figure out something that they need to change. So you never know.
I love it.
Might as well just let them know.
Yeah, that is something where I always surprise my beta readers in particular, because I use a line editor, and then I do a lot of my own developmental work, and I rely on my beta readers to really critique my developmental edits. And they will still say, you changed your story. And I'm like, well, yeah, I needed that. Now, the first week after I got your feedback, I kind of was grumbling at the world, but then I realized that I needed to do that, and it made it a lot better. And so that feedback can just be incredibly helpful so that the stories do make sense. And even if someone doesn't agree with you, at least they're seeing it in a new light, instead of kind of getting used to, you get used to your story and how it flows, and get kind of confident in yourself and not see things that maybe you should be seeing. So, yeah,
sometimes I think we forget that the books that we pick up off the library shelf, off the bookstore shelf, those have gone through a lot of revisions, and they've had a lot of people give input to them. So it's not just that somebody sits down to a typewriter and just types away everything that they're thinking without changing anything, without feedback, and then it just gets typeset and printed. There's a lot more revision and a lot of outside help that goes into a novel.
Yep. And it's normal. There's nothing wrong with you if it comes back the way. That is what happens.
Yeah.
Now, in this particular video, we're going to be stepping back a bit from that whole revision part of the writing journey. And we're going to talk about best practices for defeating writer's block and actually finishing the book so you can get it out to beta readers and editors later. What drew you to this topic?
Well, I have been writing for about 14 years. I have about 20 finished stories ranging from about 5,000 words to 160,000 words. I have 2 projects that I'm working on now and a bunch of unfinished or unstarted projects that I want to work on. So I've basically spent 14 years trying to finish novels. And a lot of that I was struggling with writer's block. And I've had to overcome that. And every book is different and every sort of season of life is different. So I've struggled with a lot of different things. And I thought that they could help other people because there are a lot of different aspects to writer's block. And I've encountered a lot of them. So hopefully I can help.
Yeah, I love that. So you're taking what your own journey has been and what your own struggles have been and hopefully passing that on to authors who might be a bit newer or maybe struggling with writer's block in different ways and helping them to kind of break through things.
Yeah, and sometimes we know the things, we just need to be reminded of them to actually get us to do them.
I love that. That is so true. Again, it's easy. In general, I think that we're kind of in our heads. I've never met an author who really isn't in some way smart or something or an overthinker or in some way. We think we know our own brains a bit. And so we just need someone outside to go, so have you tried this? And you go, oh, I should try that. I know I should try that. That's basic info. And yet we just kind of brush past it sometimes. Now you have a free PDF with 15 tips that is going to be listed below this video in the description as something that authors can access. But I'm going to ask you to just share your top 2 do's and your 2 don'ts in this video. So 2 things that authors should do or can do to break through writer's block and 2 things that authors maybe should avoid doing or sort of clear out if they're trying to get through writer's block. And I'm excited to hear this. So what are 2 things that authors should do or can do or can try out to defeat writer's block?
Well, it's hard for me to choose favorites, but the 2 that I chose are ones that I've been coming back to a lot recently. And they are make it fun and write in layers. So for make it fun, sometimes when we have writer's block, the problem is that we're just kind of bored. Sometimes maybe we're discovery writers trying to follow an outline and that just doesn't work for us. But sometimes it's just that our plot and the things that are happening in our scene, they just aren't very exciting to us. And so we need to stop and ask, like, is this going to be fun for our readers? Why am I not having fun? So it's really almost a marketing thing as well, because if you're not having fun as a writer, then your readers probably aren't having fun either. And that's not good for selling books. So it's just makes sense to actually stop and say, okay, what sort of book am I writing? What's my genre? What are readers expecting and wanting from this scene? And what do I want is probably sort of the same thing. And so if you just stop and think about that, maybe we need an almost kiss. Maybe we need an explosion. Maybe we need a new alien species, a new clue, a new body, something. So just think about those things. And sometimes we do have to cover sort of boring stuff, but if we can add in all the fun stuff at the same time, we're, progressing the plot like we need to, but also making it fun. And when you're consciously thinking about the fun stuff, and hopefully you're also thinking about your story goal. So what are the characters trying to achieve? That is real helpful in figuring out where to go next. But if you kind of cross, okay, what are the characters trying to do with how can I make this fun? That kind of drops down the number of options that you have. And if you just open up a blank page, that's kind of overwhelming, like all the choices that you have. Like what is next is kind of a huge question. But if you know what you're trying to achieve for the character and you know the sorts of things that would be fun, then you've narrowed down your options and you've given your brain some specific things to work with. And it just helps you think when you have fewer choices to make. So you're kind of stimulating your brain with wise questions and suggestions and making it more fun, which just makes writing more fun, and it's more fun for the readers. So it's kind of a win-win situation there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. And I love how you're bringing it back to, again, why is the author connecting with the story themselves? And what is making it enjoyable for them? And why are they here anyway, really?
Yeah.
Because that's always can be the question, especially, when you're getting in the depths of a book and you're like, why am I doing this? Okay, what really am I trying to get out of this story? And especially when you're drafting that first draft, you need to get to done. Like, it's not going to get to an editor. It's not going to get tweaked if it's not done.
Yeah.
So you really need to make sure that there's ways you can just get yourself to done.
Mm-hmm. We like having fun. So if we're having fun writing, kind of motivates us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, conversely, what are 2 things that authors should avoid doing? Things that can add to writer's block or at least make it hard to overcome?
I think forgetting the 3 R's of the writing life is big. Those are rest, reading, and recreation. These are things that we all know, we've all heard them, but at the same time, we just don't do them. And I know that I'm bad about saying, I've got to finish this novel, I've got to finish this novel. And we just keep writing and we don't rest. And that has health implications, mental implications, that you're not going to be creating great stuff if you're just not resting, and if you're not being intentional about it and intentional about filling your creative well with good books and good movies and just doing fun things, because you never know where your inspiration is going to come from. And if you're just staring at a computer all the time, trying to force words out, you're not going to be inspired to write anything. So you've got to be out and about reading, being intentional about filling that well. And one of my most unique story worlds, it's a steampunk story where the sun and the stars are myths, and clocks are treason, maps are forbidden, that sort of thing. Well, I wrote that story because I had listened to an audiobook called Longitude by Davis Sobel, which sounds incredibly boring, but it was actually really fascinating because longitude is basically life or death if you're out in the ocean. And there was like this giant prize created in Britain for the person who could actually discover how to do accurate longitude measurements at sea. And so it was a fascinating book, but it got me thinking about, what would life be like if you couldn't navigate, and like more about clocks and about the stars. And so just taking the time to think about those things and learning about them helped me, and also reading books about the Fae, which is not my normal reading. And just like combining like all this stuff, the kind of swashbuckling fun from Captain Blood with the inability to navigate and Fae. I was able to create that story world from just all these different things that I wouldn't have been able to do if I was just staring at the computer the whole time trying to write without feeding myself. Yeah. So also just learning to kind of render wonder where it is due is another important R as well. And then the second R was don't forget your own setting, and try to find a place that is like clear of clutter. If clutter bothers you, has like the right sound atmosphere. And if you are the type of person who wants to get up a lot and go get something to drink or go get a snack, make sure those are with you so you don't have an excuse to get up. So you can't actually sit down and focus. And choosing the right music is huge, because I was trying to write the climax of Rod of Silver and Ravens, and I just could not do it until I listened to Two Steps from Hell, which is epic music. I know I had been listening to it all summer, and I was like, I've got to stop listening to this for a while before I just wear myself out on it. But I couldn't keep writing until I turned it back on. So once I did that, suddenly the story flowed, and I was able to finish the story because I had the right music for the climax.
Yeah.
So yeah. And also I never got to my second do. I'm sorry, I skipped that. My second do is write in layers. So think of a book kind of like an old painting. So you do one layer and then another layer and then another until you have this masterpiece. But each layer is not a complete thing. So just be okay with just doing whatever you can during your writing session. Because if you open a blank page and you sit down to write, well, there's a lot of things that go into a scene. You need that clever opening that connects it to the previous scene. You need to know your setting. You need to know all the specific details that your characters are going to be interacting with. You need to know who's there. What are they doing? What are they saying? What's the goal for the scene that you as an author are trying to achieve to move your story forward? What is your character trying to do? What do your readers want for that scene? What's the dialogue? What's the action beats? How do you say all this beautifully? So it's a whole lot of stuff to try to keep in your head and try to do all at once. And so if you just sit down and say, well, the only thing I can think of right now is the dialogue, just write the dialogue, and that's okay. And if you finish the dialogue and your brain's like, I think I know what the setting is now, add in some setting details. And then maybe your brain's like, well, I have some ideas about the plot. So just jot down some notes. And so just do that, call it a day. And then that's your layer for that day. You don't have to write 1,000 words or a chapter a day. Just write that layer. Then the next day you can come back in and you can put in the action beats to go with your dialogue. You can fill in the descriptions for your setting, the descriptions of what the characters are doing. And so you just work at it sort of layer by layer until you have this complete scene. And it takes a huge amount of stress off of me. And I teach a class called I Write, How to Write a Novel online class. And one of my students said it's helped him a lot too, because you're not forcing yourself to do everything perfectly all at once. Yeah. And if you're a perfectionist, that's a huge struggle. So just give yourself permission to do one layer at a time.
I love that one. That one is it's really helpful to just help authors to tap into what they're naturally good at or what they naturally want to bring out in the scene and get that out first instead of, all authors tend to have things they enjoy and things they don't enjoy. And so they'll sit down. If they're trying to do it all at once, they're trying to balance the things that they really get excited with, maybe the things that they don't love as much. And so if you separate it into layers, then they can work through it in that way instead of trying to keep everything in tension at the same time. So that's a really helpful idea there.
Yeah. And if you can do one thing well at a time instead of doing sort of mediocre jobs all at once, it's, a better quality draft too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you're talking about going back to the whole thing of making sure that you're tapping into that kind of wonder and that you're doing, you're letting yourself rest and you're letting yourself take in other kinds of creativity. Are you meaning also like intentionally reading things or watching things that connect with your story, or just kind of letting yourself wander around and play?
Both, I think, are important. I can do it intentionally or just wonder. Yeah, there was one time when I was really overworking myself really badly. And I would start, I was in Walmart one day and my finger just turned white. Pallor. It happens when you're really stressed. And there were a couple times when I couldn't focus on anything at computer distance. It was just blurry. And this happened one day and I had to quit doing what I was doing. I was kind of working multiple jobs and writing and doing a Bible study and traveling, commuting an hour. And there was lots of health issues in the family and it was a really stressful time. But, it was a Saturday. I was at home and I just couldn't work at the computer. And then the power went off. And so basically it was like God was kicking me out of the house. So I just went outside and wandered around the woods, and I love looking at details. So I was just looking at the dirt dauber nests of all these different colors and just the leaves and the little plants, and just wandering around looking at those things was just really relaxing. I came back in, the power was still off. I played the piano, and then after a few hours, the power came back on. But it was a really nice time just doing some low stress things. And now I always try to, when I'm behaving, I always make sure I stop and read something fun, or go for a walk, do those things to keep that from happening again.
I love it. I love it. I love how that's just really connecting to your own story, but it's also something that authors need to do in general. And I think it can be so hard you like the process of writing, and then you kind of have to get in a place where you want to finish a novel. You have to have a certain drive. or at least have people around you who are pushing you. And so it can be a little challenging to then switch that off, or to know when you need to reflect and rest on that instead of just going right to the next thing.
Yeah.
All right, now I've asked you all these sort of serious questions and you've offered some great feedback. Is there anything else that you want our listeners to be encouraged by before we hop into that random question?
I think just remembering that writer's block is pretty normal. And it's okay. Just figure out kind of what is causing it. There may be multiple causes. Just kind of dig down deeper. If you're a perfectionist, just remember that you don't have to be perfect. It's okay to get help. It's okay to have to redo things. And so that's really important too. Just remembering that not everybody's going to like your story, and that's fine. You're still worthwhile. It's okay. Like learn to accept the good and the bad all together. Yep. Praise and the red ink.
Yep. And your book is not for everyone. Then that's okay.
Yeah. That's okay.
Alrighty. Now it's time for the random question, which you did not get ahead of time. So you have no idea what this is going to be. And we've talked a lot about outdoor spaces and how they sort of inspire you. So you get to open a tourist attraction in one setting in any of your story worlds. Where do you choose and why?
Well, I like deserts. So in the Of Magic Made series, they go to deserts several times, and I actually went to Morocco for book research. And I want to go to Petra. So I think I would do it in one of the desert settings and in an oasis city. We can go on camel rides and ride horses to the sand and all those things.
Oh yeah. Morocco was beautiful. I went there. Gosh, I think it was 6 or 7 years ago now, but it is gorgeous there.
It is nice. Unless you drink some water that was not properly boiled.
Yeah, I mean, that's not so nice.
Other than that, it was really great.
Yeah, just be careful about the water in a lot of those places, yes.
Yeah.
So now is time for your shameless brag. So share things with our listeners, maybe deals about your books or something to do with your course or the PDF that you created that we just only shared a few things about in this episode.
Yeah, so my PDF is available through my website, and the link will be in the show notes.
And I was going through it, and it's very well organized. And I can tell that you kind of come out of that sort of scientific organization field. It's very clearly organized. It's very detailed. There's great headers. It's easy to reference. I really appreciate that about PDFs. So nice job on that part of it too.
Thank you.